Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing well. I just wanted to come on and answer the questions that I was given for my post on Ask Me Anything About Mediumship. The questions were really good, so I'm going to keep doing these sessions and these recordings as long as I get good questions. So before I start, I just want to bulk a few questions, and a lot of people are asking about being an empath and being sensitive and taking in everyone else's feelings, emotions, energy from places, houses, restaurants, hotels, etc., etc. So I just want to talk about being an empath for a second. I do find a lot of us who are working with spirit are empaths. And the more you work on your sensitivity and the more you sort of try to reach your awareness to the essence of the spirit world, we awaken our sensitivity. And a lot of people will feel this bombardment of energy from other people, from physical places, perhaps even from a spirit communicator, which makes them uncomfortable and overwhelms them. What I've learned, because I am also an empath, is that I have to figure out what is me, what reaction is me, and what reaction is coming from the other person's energy, the space, the hotel, like I said, the physical space, the energy from that space. And I have to learn, oh, that's not me, and to shake it off. You have to, as you don't want to shut down your sensitivity, but you also have to protect yourself in a way from energy from other people and from spaces, not to absorb everything. So what I've learned as an empath is, just like I said, to just acknowledge these reactions and figure out what's me and what's coming from an external source. And what has really helped me is I've learned to observe and not absorb. I can't absorb everyone's energy. I'm of no use to the spirit world. I'm of no use to humanity or God if I'm absorbing everyone's energy and the energy from the places that I'm in. I can't. I have to remain stable. I have to remain steady so I can be a conduit, a vessel for the spirit world. So don't think that when you're feeling overwhelmed, depressed, nervous, that it's oh, look how the energy is it's working with me. You have to realize it's not me. And as soon as you kind of shed light on it and call it out, it sort of starts to go away. So just remember that as an empath, as a sensitive, we're taking in a lot of people's stuff. But as soon as you call it out and say that's not my stuff, that's someone else's stuff, and start to backtrack, why am I so depressed? Oh, because I met this person and they were depressed, or they're kind of down, and that you've taken in this energy. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Put yourself in a bubble of light. Take a sea salt shower put the sea salt in the shower gel, whatever. I'm not a big protection guy, but I am a big fan of protecting myself from other people's energies and the energy in different places. So the best advice I can really give for all of the empaths out there that feel slightly overwhelmed by the energy in the world at the moment, especially, I find, is learn to observe and not absorb. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so I'm just going to get along with my questions. Hopefully I'll get through this without stopping. If I have to stop, I'll use my rather mediocre editing skills to piece this video together. I don't like to do videos like this more than half an hour, so let's see how we do. Okay, so first question is from Rachel. Could you please include how to shift our minds when we struggle to switch off in order to connect, and then how to hold the blend? Okay, so let me just talk about switching off your mind. You can't completely quiet your mind. You can't completely stop your conscious thoughts. If you do, you would be dead and you would be a spirit communicator. What we can learn to do is calm our minds and relax our conscious minds. So what I do is, when I sort of lead these meditation classes that I do, is I try to, the method that works for me, so that's what I can teach, is I try to get people to find that space between thoughts, that millisecond where one thought ends and before another begins, and I try to have people stay there for as long as possible. So it's within this space between our thoughts. If we can use this as a focal point, our mind is relaxed for a moment. And the more you do that, it's like a muscle. You can expand this time between thoughts. And I find it's within the space between thoughts that our subconscious grows and expands. And it is within the subconscious, I feel, that the spirit world, our spirit, and God communicates through us and with us. So honestly, at the end of the day, Rachel, meditate. Meditate as much as possible, because you'll train your conscious mind to relax, and you'll awaken your subconscious. And you have to learn to calm this monkey mind that we have. The mind is the enemy to mediumship. Okay, it's important. The mind is the enemy to mediumship, because we try to think ourselves out of things all the time, and our mind does not stop working. So you have to remember, as humans, as human beings, it's within our DNA and within our genetic makeup that we're hyper aware, because we have to always be aware of danger, some saber-toothed tiger coming from behind us to eat us, other wild animals, cavemen coming to hit us on the back of the head with a club. So to get into a semi-passive state, it's totally against our human nature. Okay, so it is a shift that can be made, but it takes time. Okay, and then how to hold the blend. Okay, so when we blend with spirit, we're blending with their spirit essence. Our spirit essence is blending with their spirit essence. Our awareness is shifting to their presence. So how do you hold the blend? Same thing, you practice with it. You hold the blend as long as you possibly can. If you feel the link is getting weaker, or the information stops flowing, I do feel that's on the medium. A lot of us blame it on the spirit world for becoming fainter or quieter. It's not. It's our blend is sort of waning a bit. So you just have to keep gauging your blend. Am I blending fully? Take a second. Blend again. Shift your awareness to the essence of the spirit world, to the essence of the spirit communicator, and strengthen your blend. So it's something that you should be doing throughout a whole reading. Definitely should be monitoring your power. There's a question, I believe, down the list about how to hold your power, which we'll get to in a second. Hold your power and gauge your blend with spirit. So you always just have to watch it, check it. Okay, hope that helps. Thank you, Rachel, for your question. Okay, Robin. Hey, Robin. Okay, so are seances a type of spirit of trance communication? Not really. Trance mediumship is mental mediumship. And seances are usually done with physical mediumship. So it's two different sorts of mediumship. You have mental mediumship, which trance goes into, and you have physical mediumship. People can use trance communication within a seance, so their guides start speaking, and perhaps a spirit control will start speaking through the medium, and then the physical energies, the physical phenomena will start kicking up. And that can be in complete darkness. But you don't have to do trance mediumship in a seance setting or in darkness at all. Some people do. I'm not a fan of complete darkness anymore. I do feel like the spirit world is moving us away from complete darkness, because there's too much trickery going on. And I feel complete darkness that was really back 50, 100 years ago, as a society. Now we're too advanced, where we understand, and we need to be proved. Things need to be proved to us. So when you're complete darkness, that if you start questioning it too much, well, it could be Wi-Fi, it could be holograms, things like that. I feel like we kind of have evolved too far with technology to really sit in complete darkness and believe it fully. My belief, okay? So I think we're moving away from complete darkness. Now, physical mediumship is a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that here. I'm going to do a video on physical mediumship. But physical mediumship has really nothing to do with trance communication. Like I said, sometimes physical mediums will use trance in the beginning of their physical mediumship seances to have their guides speak through them, and then the physical energies will pick up. But you don't need to do trance in complete darkness at all. Some people do it in red light, which is fine, and you can start to pick up transfiguration either objectively or subjectively through your clairvoyance. Very cool. I'd say whatever resonates with you, but complete darkness I'm not a big fan of at all anymore. Okay, so thank you. Okay, Ross, can evidential mediumship be done in the trance state? I've been told if you're seeing clairvoyantly during trance, then you're not in a trance state. Can you start clairvoyantly and then bring through loved ones to the trance state? Thank you. Well, you can do evidential trance mediumship. an evidential trance reading, which is you're in a trance state, which is control mental mediumship, and you're allowing the loved one of the sitter sitting in front of us to work through you, to speak through you. So in effect, your spirit essence is blending with their spirit essence, and this spirit control is speaking through you and telling their story in first person usually to their loved one sitting in front of you. I was your grandmother. I remember taking you to the zoo. I remember you would sit on my knee. I know that you have my wedding ring. I know that you're discussing giving the wedding ring now to your daughter who's getting married. You would remember me as an older woman, but so it's all first person. So it's quite beautiful. See, I sometimes see clairvoyantly when I'm in a trance state. Definitely with trance evidential mediumship, I can look down, and the spirit world, the spirit control, will show me the hands of the spirit control. So I'll know if they want to speak about like their nail polish or a ring or a watch, or I can see my hands like looking really old and sort of swollen with arthritis in the joints and all that. So I don't know. I think we're all different. Some people might see clairvoyantly. It depends what sort of trance you're doing. When you're doing a trance speaking demonstration, you might start to see clairvoyantly, but you need to not engage and just allow yourself to go deeper, and the spirit world then will speak through you as them through you. So you're not really involved with your clairvoyance. But I don't think there's any hard rules of what you can't use your clairvoyance, clairaudience, things like that. I think it's all individual. But I do see clairvoyantly when I'm doing trance evidential. Okay, but like I said, don't get yourself into what other people say too much. Everyone has their own rules, and we have to be careful because we're all unique. How can you verify the messages coming in from a sitter's guides? How can you validate? It's hard to validate spirit guides, Katerina. It's a hard thing because it's sort of subjective. It's sort of talking about someone's past lives. It might resonate with the sitter, and it's very interesting, but it's hard to confirm. When I do my spiritual assessments, I do have my guide start to speak to me, and then my guide will speak to the sitter's guides, and then it becomes interesting. So I can tell my sitter, okay, have your guide stepping forward, and I know that you have an interest in healing, and you have a healing guide stepping forward. So I know they're pushing you to move into spirit healing, trance healing, energy healing, whatever. And if the sitter can validate that, I think that's a validation. So, but it has to be within the sitter's sort of development. So if a guide is saying, well, your guide is stepping forward, and I know this is an old Native American, and he lived 300 years ago in Wyoming, Montana. It's interesting, but you can't really validate that. I mean, the sitter might say, "Oh yeah, I thought so." I guess that's a semi-validation, but it's hard to really validate wisdom from or evidence from a guide. Sometimes, like I said, within the medium's development, if they can confirm, yes, I actually am having an interest in following trance mediumship, physical mediumship, healing, things like that. So that's a semi-validation. Okay. Okay. So Stacy, I have some difficult relatives in spirit. Sorry, my video went away. Where is it? Okay. Sorry, Stacy. Hold on. Here we go. Here comes the technical stuff. Okay, Stacy. Here we go. I know I have some difficult relatives in spirit, but why do so many mediums bring through spirits for me that I can't validate? I wonder if my relatives are not showing themselves honestly. I think that's sort of putting the blame on the spirit world, and I think the spirit world is pretty honest and pretty open. What I found with relatives that will come through for me, like great grandparents and things like that, I can listen to it and it sounds interesting, and I might be able to validate one or two things, but I definitely can't validate everyday information from them because they passed like over 100 years ago. So what I find sometimes with spirit that are coming through with information that the sitter can take is I try to shift. If I'm the medium bringing that through, I try to shift beyond first of all, I don't cut off the spirit communicator. I let them give their evidence, and I thank them, and then I try to shift my awareness past them and see if they're trying to bring someone else through. So a lot of times they can be a primer for another spirit communicator that then the sitter can take. Okay, so but I'm not a big fan of putting the blame on the spirit world too much. I think they're pretty honest. I think they keep their personality, but I don't think they're coming through to deceive. I don't think they would expend all their energy and power coming into our realm to sort of not be honest. So I think a lot of times it might be the medium mixing up the information or not having a strong connection or not blending well enough. Okay, so hope that helps, Stacy. Okay, Debbie. How to stay or get back in your power during a reading. Okay, so this goes back to the first question when someone was asking about how to hold the blend. I do think about blending and the power to go together. So when I'm doing a reading, like I said before, I'm always gauging my blend and I'm gauging my power. With my power, I've learned to really understand my power and stay in my power by sitting in my power. And sitting in the power as much as I possibly can. And the more you do it, the less you have to. So now, because I'm rather dramatic, if I feel like my power is sort of dimming, I just imagine a spotlight in front of me and I walk back into the spotlight and I'm back in the light. Okay, but if you're doing a reading and you feel your power start to go down, meaning the link is becoming weaker or the blend is sort of is diminishing a bit, or your your conscious mind is kicking on, do this trick. Just always have water with you. Anyway, it's good because spirit work does use up a lot of our water in our body. Just take a second, and if you're talking to a sitter, just say, "Oh, hold on a second, let me have some water." So as you're sipping, just rebuild your power and reestablish your link, your blend. So it's like it takes less than a second, because I'm not a fan of mediums being quiet during a reading. I think you have to keep the energy up and keep talking and let the information flow. But if you just take a second, take a sip of water, coffee, tea, whatever, and then just reestablish your power and the link. And just always, if you're getting a bit tired or the link is feeling weak, or you feel your conscious mind kicking on again and questioning and doubting, that usually means you're out of your power. So get back in the spotlight. That works for me. Turn up the dimmer switch to high to bring the light back up. Reignite the candle flame to make it shine really bright. That usually helps. Okay. Okay. So Kylie from Down Under. Hey Kylie. When bringing a message from a guide, does the medium connect with one of our guides or the sitter's guides to deliver the message to the sitter? I'm told it's from my guide. Do you mean a message from the guide, or are you saying that the guides are communicating with the spirit communicator and then giving us the evidence? I'm assuming you're meaning through in a mediumship reading with loved ones. I honestly just go directly to the loved ones, to the spirit communicator. I don't go through my guides for a mediumship reading. My guides are always there. My main guide, or whatever you want to call him, my power guide, my main guide, my personal guide. I always feel him, and I know he's there just to make sure and maintain order, so I don't mess things up. And if I do find myself falling down a rabbit hole with the reading, I can feel him jump in and sort of like reorder things. That's when my guide pops in. But I don't really use my guide for my mediumship readings in general, knowingly anyway. I'm sure he's there giving me power and sort of calming my nerves. But now, if you mean, my guides can definitely connect to my sitter's guides for sure, and they'll have a conversation which I can kind of hear when I'm giving spiritual assessments, and that's very interesting. So I might say, "Oh, your guide is now telling me to meditate more," or "Your guide is telling me that you are moving into healing." And if the sitter can take this and validate it, like from the question before about validating information from a guide, that's sort of semi-validation. Okay, so I mean, Kylie, I get what you're saying. Spiritualism used to teach that all the information comes from the guide. So here's my guide, and they're going to the spirit world, and a spirit communicator grandmother is here. So my guide will come back and say, oh, I have a grandmother here. And I would say to the sitter or the congregation, I have a grandmother stepping forward. And then my spirit guide would go back to the spirit world and say, oh, now the grandmother is saying that she would like to speak to her grandson. And then my spirit guide would come back and say, oh, wants to speak to her grandson. And I would say to the sitter, oh, you're the grandson. Or to the congregation, she would like to speak to her grandson. But along the way, we've kind of moved the guide aside, and now I just have a direct link to the spirit world, which I prefer. Okay, I love my spirit guides, but I'm happier if I can just go directly to the spirit world and also just go to God sometimes. Okay, thank you, Kylie. So the next one is from Malia. Hey, Malia. Why do spirits come to sitters that cannot validate? Sitters them, they cannot be validated. I have a few like that where it's this distinct spirit, clear evidence, where I'm not struggling and energetically feeling tired to my sitter, feeling tied to my sitter, excuse me, but they can't place it. Is it me not delivering clearly, or could the spirit trying to connect to someone the sitter will discuss with it later, hoping for the message? Yes, 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 and yes. Okay, so good that you're admitting that maybe it's not you delivering it clearly. But if you're feeling the energy is strong, it could be a few things. Like I said with Stacy before, with her question, sometimes the spirit world will have somebody come through that I'll just let them speak, and maybe the spirit world will have way more, are a lot smarter and have more intelligence than we do. Maybe then it's like, okay, well, just keep that message of this lovely woman coming through, and maybe you can place it within your family or friends later, and then thank her and just see what's behind her and who they're going to bring through with them, and then usually then the sitter can take it. But chances are, if they really can't place it, then it's usually you not interpreting the information correctly. And if that really happens, I would just stop and hand the evidence back to spirit and see if they'll change it or help you. Or then you could go to your guide and just say, help me reorder this, and see what happens. But yeah, sometimes they can be coming through with a message for someone else in the family. But the sitter has to know. They can't go to everyone and say, hey, do you have a man in spirit named John? To everyone they know. You have to at least have somewhere to go. Say, oh yeah, I think my brother's wife's grandfather was named John. At least then they know they could ask, to deliver the message. But there has to be some sort of direction. So it could be you, but I've worked with you long enough, so you would know. So like I said, I think usually you can feel behind the spirit communicator after they're done, and you can see if they're going to bring someone else through. Okay, so Donna. Is there a hierarchy of spirit helpers in the spirit world? Do you need to alter your state of consciousness and frequency in accordance to each level, or do you just set the intention, or both? That's really difficult. I'm not a fan of making everything so difficult. The spirit world is very simple. Do I believe there are different levels of awareness and consciousness in spirit? Absolutely, but I'll just set the intention that I want to be a clear and pure conduit for the spirit world and for my sitter sitting in front of me, or for anyone I'm working with. And I'm assuming then the spirit world will help me attune to where I have to attune to. I'm not a big fan of okay, I need to just get my state of consciousness to this level, or my frequency here. I'm assuming the spirit world knows what has to be done. And if I just go into it with the intention of being service to God, humanity, and the spirit world, that the spirit world will develop me and sit with me to the point where they'll work with my blending and my attunement to where I have to be for that moment in time. Okay, so Brandy, for those of us who can't afford hundreds of dollars, people ask for mediumship or classes, what are some good workbooks you can recommend to help exercise one's clairs or mediumship in general? I mean, there are tons of videos out there on YouTube that are free. Different mediums will share their exercises about clairs. What I do have to say to you, Brandy, is don't put yourself in this kind of, unless I have money, I can't develop. There are a ton of us who offer classes in circles that are not hundreds of dollars. I know that your message came from Aaron's group, Beginner Psychic Medium Development. I know Aaron and Tina both offer circles and classes that are not hundreds of dollars. I try to offer classes and circles that are not hundreds of dollars. There are a lot of us that do. I'm not a big fan of people that charge thousands of dollars for development. I think that spiritual education should be available to everyone. But there are classes and circles out there that are not so expensive. So don't put yourself in this state of mind. There's nothing you can do without a lot of money. There are a lot of things you can do without a lot of money. Books, in terms of exercises, I'm sure there are. Gordon Smith comes to mind. I think he has a book on exercises to develop your mediumship. I'm sure there are others, but there are a lot of books on just how to understand your spirit and how to understand your awareness and build your awareness and sit in the power and honor your own spirit. Mavis Patilla, excellent on mediumship and just spiritualizing yourself. Glenn Edwards, really good on just the understanding the spirit world and God. Okay, but there are enough of us out there that don't charge hundreds or thousands of dollars. SNUI is, I think, £25 a year, and then £8 a year after the first year or second year. And they have a lot of online circles, a lot of online classes, lectures that you can watch. So there is stuff around. Okay, just don't give up, and don't put yourself in this mindset that there's nothing you can do without a lot of money. Okay. Okay. So the question about now come the questions about the empaths, about the overwhelming emotion. Like I said, don't absorb all of this. Just observe. Okay, so when you're doing readings, though, let me just talk about this for a second. When you're doing readings, you can start to feel overwhelming, the sitter's energy or emotion, the spirit communicator's emotion, but you really, really, please, you need to learn how to develop this compassionate detachment. I'm of no good to you as a light worker, as a servant to the spirit world, if I'm sitting there crying and sobbing with you. It doesn't help. Okay, so you really have to just observe it and develop this compassionate detachment. I have a lot of compassion, but I can't spin and spiral down with the sitter, because I'm of no help to you if I do. Okay, so of course I feel, but I have to maintain a little bit of a distance. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so Lisa, I've been told many times I'm gifted, but I've always questioned how much. Okay, don't question it. Just start exploring your mediumship and your development. I think claircognizance and clairsentience. Sometimes I see orbs, and lately been seeing things. In the past I've heard spirit, would love guidance in this. Okay, so if you start to hear your name or music or sounds, excuse me, or you're seeing sort of movement out of the corners of your eyes, or shadow orbs, all these things, reach out to the spirit world. If you're seeing something, say either in your mind or out loud, I see you, thank you. So they're aware that you can see what they're trying to show you, or hear through your clairaudience what they're trying to tell you. Thank you, I hear you. And if you could just move in and lean in your awareness into what you're seeing or what you're hearing a bit more, then you might be able to make more sense of it. So my clairaudience basically started with a ringing in my ear. And I feel like you have this too, because my ear is actually ringing now. If you're hearing a ringing, just ask them, say you hear the ringing, thank you, but they need to start adjusting the frequency and the vibration, and then you should be able to start getting guidance from your guides or from the spirit world in general. Okay, so you're writing about claircognizance, which is clairknowing, and clairsentience, which is clairfeeling. Great. So just develop it. Try to do some readings. I know claircognizance, clairknowing. I know that you would understand clairsentience. I feel this would be a mother. So just start with the terminology. I hear, I see, I feel, I know. And that's how you develop it, okay? Heather, I think I channeled yesterday. How do I know? I don't know. I wasn't there. But keep doing it. But did you channel on your own? What happened when you were channeling? Then and remember, there's a difference between channeling and being inspired, which is usually how channeling or trance, same thing, usually starts with your being inspired by spirit to say something or write something, and then the more you sit in this inspired energy, then they can start working through you through channeling or through trance, where you're allowing the spirit world to speak through you, write through you, paint through you, do music through you. But if you want to explore this, just sit with somebody, have someone sitting opposite you, whether online like this or in person, and just allow yourself to drop away and go passive and just see if they start speaking through you, and then ask the person observing you what you said or what happened, okay? But keep doing it. That's how you really develop, is if something interests you, um, try it again and see if it resonates with you. Okay, so the next question is from Jody. I was told I could astral travel and that was a gift. How do I know? How do I do that? I don't know. Sorry, I'm sort of a big fan of saying I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. I've never astral traveled. Sounds cool. I think the closest I've come to sort of understanding astral traveling is when I'm doing healing, distant healing. I've had some people that are on the other end receiving the healing saying that they could sense my energy, or sometimes see me or one of my healing guides in the room with them when the healing is being delivered. But I really don't know much about astral travel. Sounds cool though. I'd like to. It'd save a lot on corona tests and plane ticket prices. Okay. So then some more questions about empath. I've been over that. A lot of times, if you're going into spaces and you're feeling the negative energy and it affects your mood, like I said, you need to shine light on it and say, that's not me. And just by shining light on something like that and your reaction on it, it starts to go away. Okay. So you need to really just, like I said 3 or 4 times already, you need to learn how to observe and not absorb. I'm of no help. You're of no help to anyone if you're a mess. Okay, so you have to really just kind of keep a distance from letting things affect you like that. Okay, next question is from Shireen. I've tried trance meditation twice with you, and I loved it. Thank you very much. I noticed my mouth opening right away and my tongue moving. Does that mean my guide wants to speak through me, or could evidential mediumship through trance be a possibility for me? Possibly both. Try. Like I talked about before, trance evidential mediumship, it is a thing. It's a beautiful ability. But I'm a big believer, allow the spirit world to develop you. They're responsible for our development. We're responsible for our mediumship, meaning we need to make sure we have the right teachers, mentors, practice circles, working on your physicality, your voice, your confidence, all of these things. But yeah, I mean, chances are when I hear this in terms of trance, that when you're sitting in a trance state, you get energy around your mouth, or your tongue starts moving, or you feel your lips vibrating, or your throat, energy in your throat. It means they would like to speak with you, through you. Okay, so do it again, try it again, and set the intention. Speak through me, friends. And yes, and when you do that long enough and you understand the blending and the overshadowing, when the spirit control is working through you, then ask them to do some trance evidential mediumship with you. Very cool. That's actually one of my favorite forms of mediumship. Okay. So again, a question about I want to talk about Angela for a second. Okay, so I think I'm an empath, and at my current job, the families I care for tell me I know exactly what to say when it's appropriate to say it. I also feel their emotions strongly and can predict what's needed and when. Am I an empath or just very good at the work I do? By the way, I'm a pediatric hospice nurse. Well, first of all, respect. That's an amazing vocation that you're doing, Angela, and I don't think there's anything that could be more heartbreaking. What I'm hearing, actually, my God is popping in, which probably this is why I'm reading your question in full. You are definitely a healer, and I do feel like there is a healing guide speaking through you and delivering a lot of this information, counsel, comfort to the families. So just allow it to flow. It is a form of inspired speaking, but the spirit world is delivering the words of comfort or counsel that the families need at that moment. So that's beautiful. You're definitely an empath, but you're in it's a heartbreaking situation sometimes, obviously, but you're doing a beautiful work, and it's a beautiful vocation and calling. So, and you are helping children in a very heartbreaking situation. So, but a beautiful job. I'm very impressed by that. What I am hearing is that I know that you understand the spirit passing out of the physicality into the spirit world, or you've been aware of souls passing, spirits passing from the physicality into the spirit world at the point of physical death. Okay, and that's cool. So you might want to start maybe blogging about that or doing videos on that. I know that you could. I know there's a lot of information and a lot of experiences that you've had with either people right before they've passed, what they're talking about or what they're seeing, whether angels, they might interpret them as angels, or past loved ones coming and being with them, sort of not near-death experiences so much, but before-death experiences, okay? Okay, so last questions, Ayla. I can communicate with past loved ones, but cannot see them. I also have visions for the future, but have no control when I want to see it. And how can I develop my intuition and be a better medium? Well, okay, so past loved ones. I can feel my past loved ones. I don't know if I can communicate fully with my past loved ones because my mind gets in the way. I can always feel my grandmother, my grandfather, my father around me, but I don't really communicate with them. I don't try to communicate them with anymore because my conscious mind will kick on. And there are things that I know and possibly things I want to hear. So they'll communicate with me through a lot of people that I work with in my mentorship classes or just mediumship classes, where then they'll come through and use the opportunity to communicate with me. So like I said, I can't communicate very well with my past loved ones. If you can, that's beautiful. My belief is that it's hard, okay? Visions for the future, you can develop that. Just set the intention for prophecy and see what they'll show you. If you're talking about sort of like fortune telling and psychic stuff, all you're really doing with psychic is pulling from people's auras, from people's energies, and sort of giving them what's in their plan, in their future, in terms of jobs and things like that. But you can set the intention for the spirit world to show prophecy, prophetic messages, but that usually has to do with your sitter's sort of spiritual development. Okay, but yes, sitting and just developing yourself as a medium, sit in the presence of spirit. Just feel the presence of the spirit world all around you, and just sit there. And what you'll see happens is there's this transference of energy that goes back and forth, and as you get to know them, they get to know you. So I guess so long-winded answer to your question is set the intention of things that you would like to develop, and they will work with you. They are our best teachers, okay? Anyway, those are the questions. A bit long, 7 minutes longer than I'd like to do, so 37 minutes. But thank you guys very much. I appreciated all the questions, and good questions, and I will do this again soon. Okay, bless you, and have a good day. Bye.